Good morning sa ating lahat. Today, I will be presenting the extension system in China. But before that, please allow me to introduce myself. I am Jethron Setenta, PhD in Extension Education student. For a better understanding of how agricultural or rural extension works in China, let's know how it started, the legislative background, structures, methodologies of doing extension activities and programs, funding, and its strengths and weaknesses. Through this, maybe we can compare our extension system here in the Philippines and that from China. And let's think if their system is applicable to us here in the Philippines. To start off, let's find out how agricultural extension started in China. Agricultural extension in China can be dated back to Qin Dynasty in 221 to 207 before Common Era or BCE and Han Dynasty in 220 to 202 BCE, when positions called farming advisors were created within central and local governments. These advisors were created to provide technical support to farmers through demonstration, training, and outreach. Agricultural extension developed quickly after the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, partly due to the rapid population increase after World War II and the Civil War, low agricultural productivity, and natural disasters. The central government passed the Agricultural Technology Extension Act in 1953. This is similar to the Smith-Lever Act of 1914 in the United States. The Agricultural Technology Extension Act was passed to establish an agricultural extension system and form a network centered around technical information providers. A top-down extension approach was adopted during the period of collectivization that was between 1953 to 1958. Collectivization era was under the leadership of Mao Zedong. This is an era by which farmland is aggregated or agricultural cooperatives in which member owners jointly engage in farming activities as a collective, and state farms which are owned and directly run by a centralized government. The top-down extension approach was also adopted during the People's Commune, that was 1958 to 1982. The basic extension method used in the top-down approach was administrative intervention. Agricultural extension was seen as a government instrument for implementing agricultural development programs, and a number of extension programs were implemented as political campaigns. During this time, it was difficult to separate extension activities and government administration. The goal of extension programs under this approach was to ensure adequate grain production, and research, demonstration, and extension activities were set up according to this policy. Alternative programs for diversified sectors such as cash cropping, fruit tree cultivation, and off-farm activities were not included in the goal. Now for the legislative background of the extension system in China. Law of the People's Republic of China on the Popularization of Agricultural Technology Extension or ATE set the legislative foundation for agricultural extension. It was passed at the second session of the 8th National People's Congress on July 2, 1993. The law was established with several objectives in mind. First is to strengthen agricultural extension, promote technology transfer of agricultural research, strengthen the technological support system, and also promote agriculture and sustainable economic development of rural areas, and to achieve modernization of agriculture. Popularization, in the title of the law, refers to extension and outreach. Agriculture technology in the law refers to research and technology that is applicable in crop production, forestry, animal husbandry, and fishery, including but not limited to breeding, cultivation, and the like. The law requires the central government to increase financial input in agricultural extension and local governments to set aside budgets for agricultural extension with an expectation of annual increases. The previous or the traditional agricultural extension, in a narrow sense, aimed at only increasing agricultural productivity through adopting production technology, while current agricultural extension expands to more diverse topics such as financial stability of rural areas and environmental protection. For example, nutritional values of crops and financial feasibility have not been a focus for traditional extension, but would be under the current extension systems. There are five levels of agricultural extension in China. These are national, provincial, county, municipal, and township levels. The majority of agricultural extension is associated with the China Ministry of Agriculture, with an emphasis of forestry-related crops including woody ornamental crops, the counterpart of Philippines DNR, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Science and Technology, the National Agriculture Leadership Working Group. This is consists of leaders from ministries or similar agencies associated with different aspects of rural areas, and the National Development and Reform Commission. These all have respective counterparts at various local levels and provide resource and program support to the provincial agencies. The National Agricultural Extension Service Center in the Ministry of Agriculture provides resource and program support to the Office of Science and Technology in the Department of Agriculture in all provinces. So, ang counterpart ng Ministry of Agriculture dito sa Philippines is the Department of Agriculture Central Office. And may regional offices nationwide ang DA, which are equivalent naman ng local agriculture office. The State Forestry Administration Agricultural Extension System is very similar to that of the Ministry of Agriculture, but with a focus on forestry-related agricultural sectors. That includes woody ornamental crops. The forestry sector is much smaller compared with the other agricultural sectors. Sa atin, dito sa Philippines, ang forestry is under the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, and ang focus ng DNR is primarily on environment and natural resources kung saan included ang forestry. And under the DNR, ang Ecosystems Research and Development Bureau, nito ang in charge for the research, development, and extension programs related to forestry. Meaning, forestry is not included in the function of the Department of Agriculture. But we know na ang DA is producing fruit trees and other agricultural crops like rubber, cacao, and coffee. The Ministry of Science and Technology Agricultural Extension System is carried out mainly through the Spark Plan and supplemented with the Special Sci-Tech Commissioners or SSCs system and the Enriching Farmers Strengthen Municipalities Special Projects. The Spark Plan aims to improve rural economic development through science and technology like information technology and commercialization of agricultural technology. China Rural Technology Development Center, which is part of the Ministry of Science and Technology, implements the Spark Plan through the Office of Spark and Information. It is administered at the national, provincial, county, and municipal levels, which provide resource and program support to the stakeholders. The National Agriculture Leadership Working Group and the National Development and Reform Commission within the central government provide leadership to their counterparts in provincial governments. They provide resource and program support to Provincial Academy of Agricultural Science and Academy of Forestry Sciences, and leadership to the Agricultural Leadership Working Group and the Development and Reform Commission in each county. The Municipal Agriculture Leadership Working Group and Development and Reform Commission are the local agencies providing funding and projects to Agricultural Extension Office in townships with approval from their higher level counterparts respectively. The national and central government includes Ministry of Agriculture administers the China Academy of Agricultural Sciences for research on food and fiber. The State Forestry Administration administers the China Academy of Forestry Sciences for research on forestry-related crops, including that of woody ornamental crops. The Ministry of Education and Ministry of Science and Technology co-established and co-administer the Institutes of New Rural Development. The counterpart in the Philippines are the Department of Agriculture, the DNR, the DepEd, that of the Ministry of Education. And the DOST, counterpart niya sa China, yung Ministry of Science and Technology. Ang research arm naman ng Department of Agriculture is the DA-BAR or the Bureau of Agricultural Research. For training, nandyan ang ATI or Agricultural Training Institute. For provincial government, they have Department of Agriculture, Department of Forestry, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Education, Provincial Agriculture Leadership Working Group, the Provincial Development and Reform Commission. These are the provincial counterpart of the national government offices or the ministries. Provincial universities alone or in collaboration with agricultural enterprises can apply for integrated research and extension grants from both national and provincial agencies. Provincial counterparts like Provincial Agriculture Office, which is under the provincial local government. For the county and municipal governments, they have the Bureau of Agriculture, Bureau of Forestry, Bureau of Science and Technology, County and Municipal Agriculture Leadership Working Group, County and Municipal Development and Reform Commission. County Institute of Agricultural Sciences is administered by the County Bureau of Agriculture. The County Institute of Forestry Sciences is administered by County Bureau of Forestry. The Philippine counterparts of these offices are the Municipal Agriculture Office or the MNRO, and the Municipal Agricultural Office or the MAO. For the township government, China has the local agricultural extension offices under the Municipal Bureau of Agriculture, local forestry extension offices under the Municipal Bureau of Forestry. Local agricultural extension offices and forestry extension offices conduct extension outreach directly to stakeholders but do not interact with each other. Provincial agencies provide funding for most agriculture-related programs. With the establishment of a market economic system, the market is playing an increasing role in the decisions of government bodies. The following changes have been made by central and local governments. First, a shift from central planning to decentralized planning procedures. The introduction of bottom-up approaches to research and extension, the creation of a multi-sectoral extension structure, the promotion of farmers' associations, the promotion of the participation of target beneficiaries, and the strengthening of extension legislation, which is the law. Rural extension is a public sector service and its missions and goals reflect the importance of agricultural and rural development in China's overall economic development. And here's the missions and goals of public rural extension in China. For example, the mission is to transfer advanced agricultural technology from research to users. The goal is to increase production, improve quality of the agricultural products, ensure food security for the large population. One example of mission also is to assure the successful implementation of government rural policy by changing farmers' behaviors. The goal of that mission is to protect the environment and natural resources, reach the goal of sustainable rural development. Another mission is to improve farmers' skills and knowledge in decision making and farm management through training. The goal is to increase farmers' economic income, alleviate rural poverty, improve community organization, and the last mission is to provide an information and marketing service, which is the goal is to help farmers and rural entrepreneurs to make proper decisions on production, marketing, and risk production. Since the 1980s, apart from the conventional top-down approach, many other new approaches to extension have been developed and tested in different areas of the country. The following are some of the most important approaches. First is the conventional extension approach, technical contracts between extension agents and farmers' households, company-led extension approach, which is also known as the dragon head approach, and the participatory extension approaches. The conventional extension approach's objective is to implement the government's plan for development. Under this approach, extension programs are implemented by public extension agents and by government administrative interventions at different levels. This approach is the dominant form of extension and is still functional well for some sectors. The steps of this approach are as follows. 1. Develop policy. 2 is to develop programs. Third is develop project and also conduct research and demonstrations, implement extension programs, and the last is to organize, monitor, and evaluate the extension activities. Technical contracts between extension agents and farmers' households. Since 1985, government extension funds have been sharply reduced. Under financial pressure, some local extension agents have changed from providing free of charge services to entering paid technical contracts. This extension model concentrates on the provision of technical advice during the production period to increase the output of products. The extension agent is only responsible for improving production levels. Marketing must be organized by the farmers themselves. So in here, there is a technical contract between the service provider, which is the extension agent, and the farmer. At itong serbisyo na ito ay may bayad. Ang role lang ng extension agent is technical assistance. But as to marketing na ng farm produce, it's up to the farmer na. The steps of this approach can be divided as follows. Extension agent establishes contract with target villages and villagers. A contract is signed after negotiation between the extension agent and villagers. Relevant technical training, on-site supervision, and instruction is provided by the extension agent during the production period, and the arrangement is evaluated and the technical contract may be extended. In this approach, the extension agent and farmers share benefits and jointly take risks in production. This approach is applied mostly in horticulture, cash crop production, and livestock production systems. Ang company-led extension approach naman, which is also known as the Dragon Head approach, was initially developed at the end of the 1980s in coastal areas by rural enterprises that use agricultural products and byproducts as raw materials. Under this approach, farmers' marketing risks are reduced by contracting with companies. Companies, as the dragon head of the whole system, provide relevant technologies, training, and information to farmers. By providing services to farmers, companies or the dragon head ensure the supply of raw materials at fixed prices. This approach is implemented through contracts signed between companies and households, linking the two parties by a commercial mechanism. The participatory extension approaches naman has been developed and introduced gradually by the Center for Integrated Agricultural Development or CIAD since the beginning of the 1990s. Its objective is to develop farmers' abilities and skills in sustainable rural development. In this approach, the community is the basic unit for implementing participatory extension programs. Farmers are the key actors and participate in all extension processes such as project appraisal, participatory monitoring, and evaluation. Initiatives are started at the grassroots level and are submitted to higher levels, the so-called bottom-up approach, from bottom to up or to the top. In this approach, the role of farmers is increased. The participatory approach requires multidisciplinary teamwork and multi-institutional involvement. There have been a number of successful examples of this approach in recent years, especially in social, forest, and land reclamation projects. The functions of the public rural extension system include bringing farmers and government together to implement government policies, promoting agricultural production and farm management, supporting the marketing of agricultural products and the purchase of agricultural inputs, providing necessary information to farmers for proper decision making, educating and training farmers, especially rural women, supporting sustainable development and resource planning, alleviating poverty, and promoting rural enterprises. Since the market-oriented economic system was established, the subjects of rural extension have been expanded and diversified according to local resources and market development. So here's the main subjects of rural extension in China. For crop production, the subjects are seed production, plant protection, crop cultivation, soil and fertilizers. The objectives are for high yield, high quality, and resource saving, and also to reduce environmental pollution. And for livestock production naman, the subjects are feedstuffs, feeding techniques, veterinary services. The objectives are to market-oriented quality and for high profit. And for horticulture, vegetables and cash crops, vegetable cultivation, greenhouse technology, flower cultivation, tea, sugarcane, and tobacco production. And the objective is to increase farmers' incomes. For agricultural processing and storage, the subjects are fruit storage and processing techniques, vegetable storage and agricultural products processing technology. The objectives of this is to improve market and also to increase profit from agricultural products. For fisheries naman, ang subjects are aquaculture and feedstuffs. This is to concentrate on the coastal areas and southern China. And for community development planning naman, the subjects are community development and resource planning, community organization, participatory land use planning, and the objective is for sustainable development. And for farm management, farm planning, financial management, and bookkeeping and marketing are the subjects. This is to improve the farm management skills of farmers. For agricultural mechanization, include farm machinery, repair and management technology, and driver training. This is to replace labor force and increase working efficiency. According to geographical characteristics, the whole country of China can be divided into 7 regions for agricultural resource planning. Here's the geographical divisions and priorities for rural extension in China. In 3H region, this includes the Hebei, Tianjin, Hunan, Shandong, Anhui, and Jiangsu. The type of farming system is intensive crop production, intensive and semi-intensive livestock production, fruit and vegetables, and intensive fisheries. The main constraints in this region are soil salinity, limited land resources, lower production caused by drought. So the priority of extension in this region, the priorities of extension are to correct saline soil, introduce water-saving technologies, intensify vegetable and fruit production, and to improve land use planning. For regions Shanxi, Gansu, Shanxi, and part of Inner Mongolia, the farming system includes intensive crop production, extensive livestock production, for fruit, apple, and Chinese dates. Ang main constraints are drought, serious soil erosion, poverty, low education level of farmers. So the priorities of extension is control soil erosion, auction wasteland to farmers, support intensification of fruit production, develop household-oriented poverty alleviation programs. In southern China and hilly land, ang farming system naman is intensive rice production. Also, intensive and semi-intensive livestock production, subtropical fruits, intensive fisheries ang farming system. Ang problem are soil and water erosion, high population density, marketing problems. So, ang priorities of extension is to strengthen market information service, promote intensification of fruit production and fisheries, and to support private extension sector. For Yungoy Highland, that's include Yunnan and Guizhou, the farming system includes grain production, intensive cash crops, and fruit cultivation, extensive livestock production. Ang main constraints for this region ay low education level of farmers because the majorities are ethnic groups, less cultivated land, poverty, and inconvenient transport. So ang priorities of extension ay train farmers in technology, promote diversification of farming systems, improve infrastructure at the community level, initiate poverty alleviation programs. In Northeast China Plain, the farming system includes intensive corn and soybean production, intensive and semi-intensive livestock production, and fisheries. The main problems for this zone are the marketing problems, low government storage capacity, and corn pests. So, ang priorities of extension for this region, first is to improve market information service and marketing facilities, and also encourage livestock producers to use locally produced corn, strengthen pest control in corn. For Mengzin Highland, ang farming system for this region are large area grassland for cattle, sheep, and goat grazing, and also limited cultivated land. The problems are dry climate, desertification, serious degradation of grassland, poverty of the local population. So, ang priorities of extension for this region are to introduce grazing management systems, strengthen land use planning at the community level, train farmers and herders on sustainable management of grassland resources. And for Kingzang Highland, ang farming system is extensive grassland, livestock production system, and limited crop production. The main problems are harsh climate, which is cold with short plant growing season, and mountainous area, and also poverty. So, ang priorities of extension for this region is to initiate poverty alleviation programs, and also they consider to train herders. Alamin naman natin ang iba't ibang target beneficiaries for rural extension in China. The following target groups for public rural extension have been identified: farmer households and technical demonstration households, village leaders, farmers associations, and rural women. Farmer households and technical demonstration households. The technical demonstration households are playing an important role in research, demonstration, and training for other households. Poor households, or about 1.8 million, in the poverty-affected areas are considered a priority target for extension. For village leaders naman, they are the community administrative managers at the grassroots levels and are the target beneficiaries of many extension activities. There are about 2.3 million village leaders in the country. Their credibility determines the impact of extension in the village. For farmers associations naman, as non-government organizations or NGOs, they provide technical and marketing services to farmers and compensate for the lack of public extension services. Targeting and supporting farmers associations expands the extension services that reach farmers. And for rural women, as the male labor force shifts from the agricultural sector to non-agricultural sectors, the female labor force becomes increasingly important for agricultural activities. Rural industries and resource management. Special training and extension programs for rural women have been initiated using government funds and international support. Before rural extension, the public extension, which was the public sector service, was fully financed by central and local government. After reform, the government decentralized funding to the level of local government and extension agents. In here, we can see the geographical divisions and priorities for rural extension in China. For central government, they allotted 70 for construction, 30 for running costs, and staff salaries is 20. For local government, they allotted construction for 30, running costs 40, and staff salaries 30. Sa extension agent naman, they allotted none for construction, 30 for running costs, and 50 for staff salaries. That's 100 for construction, 100 for rural costs, and staff salaries. There are three sources of funds for the extension services of farmers associations: the membership fees, the revolving funds collected from members, and overheads from marketing products. So normally, direct extension services to members are free of charge. China is a country with a very large population but limited land resources. Food security will continue to be a key issue for the development of government policies, including extension policies. To develop an effective extension support system for food security, the government extension system must play a central role. However, diversified extension systems, including private and commercial extension services, can compensate for the shortfalls of the government extension system. The strengths of the extension system include the complete organization of the extension system throughout the country from national to township level. Also, a unified coordination, planning, and policy framework for implementing extension programs. Efficient support systems in terms of finance, administration, and coordination from government at different levels. A large number of extension staff working at different levels. Compensation from private extension services. The weaknesses of the extension system naman for this extension system in China include insufficient cooperation and coordination with other agencies such as planning institutions and credit institutions at both the national and provincial levels. So policy coordination needs to be further strengthened. Ang professional and institutional linkages between research, extension, education that still need to be improved in some areas. The current extension facilities failure to meet demand fully as a result of shortages of funds. Extension staff are insufficiently qualified to meet the needs of farmers in the market-oriented economy. Limited use of alternative extension methods. In practice, administrative intervention methods are still dominant. And the use of improper approaches during the planning of the extension programs. There is a high level of governmental policy orientation and insufficient participation of farmers in the planning, implementation, and evaluation of extension programs. That's all from my report on the extension system in China. I hope you learned something about how agricultural extension works in China. Again, good morning and thank you so much.